Hola beautiful souls, welcome back or welcome to my channel where we merge the cosmos with self-development to become our highest selves every day using astrology, spirituality, and wellness. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos like this one, as well as check out my other sites if you want to keep up with me and see my exclusive offers and readings. So as you can see, this setup is a lot more casual. If you're watching on YouTube, that is. The setup is much more casual than my normal setups, and my voice might sound a little weird because I'm still recovering, but we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to come to you with a more casual setup. I have you guys positioned a little bit differently than I usually do. My voice is still recovering, so I'm kind of trying to keep the mic closer to me. Hopefully I don't sound too crazy. But I realized that I can still film something. I'm finally feeling better. I have been a silent mute all week, quite literally all week, and it has been torture as somebody who has an air dominant chart and has a lot of Gemini and Aquarius placements specifically. It felt like I was a prisoner in my own body. So I am so thankful, more thankful than I've ever been, for being able to speak. Just being able to speak, like do this right now. I am so thankful I can use my vocal cords again. But yeah, I really wanted to get on here and just have a more relaxed approach to the whole video. I don't want it to be anything crazy. I don't want it to be anything like where I put a bunch of pressure on myself. I always feel the need to curate something perfect. We are just going to relax. We're going to talk about a little life update with me, like what's been going on with me, my mindset for 2025. We'll talk a little bit about the new moon in Aquarius coming up on January 29th in just a couple days. And then maybe a little bit about the Virgo Pisces node movement that recently happened this month. So if that sounds interesting, stay tuned. Let's talk about it. Okay, don't mind the mic at the bottom of the screen here. I just want it to be closer to me so I can actually talk to you guys from a more relaxed angle. Again, I don't want this to be a perfectly curated video. It's new territory for me. But let's start off with talking about getting sick, okay? So last week on Monday is usually my filming day, if any. And I planned to film 2 videos. Early in the morning while I was getting ready to film, I kind of smelled a slightly weird smell in my apartment, but I didn't know, like I didn't think much of it because you smell a lot of weird random things all the time. It's normal. But then I had to leave to go to Target for some reason. And then when I came back, it was like way stronger. And that was maybe around like 9:30 a.m. And then I was getting ready. I was finishing getting ready to film, and a couple hours had gone by, and it smelled overwhelmingly strong. I was all ready to go. I had my hair done, makeup, I had my filming setup ready. But when I sat down to film, I'm like, I feel really suffocated. It smelled like burning plastic, like overwhelming burning plastic smell. So I was like, that's not normal, and that's very scary. And it was in the middle of us having extremely frigid winter weather, like unusually low temperatures. So I didn't know what it could be, but I felt like it had to do with maybe the heater or the electrical system in the apartment. So I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't be here. So I had to unexpectedly pack up and leave. I don't know what it was to this day. Maintenance men have since come in and fixed it. Hopefully, I haven't smelled that smell since, but it ruined my filming day. But not only did it ruin my filming day, I feel like it got me sick because then the next day, on Tuesday, I had work that day. And I woke up feeling just weird. You know when your body feels weird and you're like, there's a sickness on the horizon. That's exactly how I felt. And I was like, no, but I'm not the type of person that likes to feed into it because I have quite a healthy body. I'm very thankful. I take very good care of it. And so a lot of times if I feel like the inkling of sickness, I just tell myself, oh, if anything, it's a little bug, like don't worry about it. And a lot of times, yeah, it clears up really quick and it's not a big deal. It's nothing I have to worry about. I feel like the more that you give into it and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to start getting sick. I feel like that's when you guarantee that you're going to get really sick. Mind over matter, you know? That doesn't always work, but for me, it works majority of the time. So anyways, I didn't think it was a big deal. I had a nail appointment that morning. Shout out to my green nails. I don't know if it's going to focus on my nails. There we go. But I got my nails done that morning. Then I had work. And at work, because I had taken Advil before going to work. And if I take Advil, it's either because I'm going to work or because I am really in unbearable pain. I try not to take Advil as much as possible. I go to work. And the Advil's working pretty well because I feel pretty normal for the most part. But then maybe around like 4 p.m. that afternoon, I could feel it. I was like, oh no, I'm starting to feel like a fever. Like I feel hot because the Advil was wearing off. And that night, sure enough, I did not feel good. It got a lot worse. I did not feel good at all. I had fever, body aches, and then my throat was starting to hurt. And then the next day, everything hurt so bad, but my throat took the cake. Like the last time my throat made me feel that miserable to where it made me cry while I was trying to eat because it was so painful. I like started bawling crying, but then you know how when you cry, like your throat swells up and stuff, so crying hurt really bad. So I was just like miserable crying over my food. I was like, it hurts, and like I felt so alone and so like lost. I was like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain right now. Like I thought I probably had strep throat because the last time that my throat made me cry like that, I had strep, which was a long time ago. Fast forward to Thursday, I woke up in the morning and my throat again was in so much pain. My fever and my body aches pretty much felt like they were gone, but my throat didn't get any better. If anything, it got worse. And so I couldn't speak. When I tell you I could not talk, I would try to push out my voice and like the words would just not come out correctly. Some type of noise would come out, but it was really hard for me to form words. And if I did form words, it hurt really bad to do so. And I was like, oh my gosh, my throat's like torn up. So that morning I went to an immediate care near me and they ran a strep, flu, and COVID test. I ran negative for all of them, so it was none of those. They told me it was probably acute laryngitis, which I had never experienced before. So the source of it is unclear, but I have strong suspicions that it came from whatever fumes I was breathing in my apartment on Monday, because how did it just happen on Tuesday and I tested negative for strep, flu, and COVID? That's crazy to me. And it was my throat mainly. Like my body went through a very short, like 24 hours of fighting via fever and body aches. But then that passed and then my throat was there to stay. Like my throat was the thing that got completely ravaged. So they gave me a steroid shot at the immediate care. And the steroid shot's supposed to help subside the inflammation quicker over the course of about 3 days, and it did. It accelerated my healing a lot, but my throat still hurt so bad. It wasn't until yesterday that it actually started to feel like I could almost swallow without pain. It still was uncomfortable, but I was like, oh, I can swallow without feeling like I have to brace myself. So anyways, that put me in a big production deficit. So that's no fun, but that's what happened this past week. That's why my voice is like this. But on the bright side, it made me feel, one, again, gratitude for something I never think about, which is my voice. I don't really think much about how much speaking means and how much power our voices give us. And I do not take that for granted. I was never fully conscious of it, but now I am very thankful to be speaking and speaking with ease without pain. But on top of that, it also encouraged me to embrace a different type of content, which is this more relaxed, laid back content. And that's kind of exciting because we'll now move into the next portion of this little spiel video. It's kind of my mindset for 2025. So moving into 2025, it's been a rocky road for me when it comes to personal relationships, especially. I ended a serious relationship in August last year. And then after that, a whole bunch of things ensued to kind of leave me feeling a bit alone and kind of like an outcast. And I'm not trying to victimize myself by saying that. It just caused a lot of very deep reflection, primarily of the types of things that I allow in my life and what I have been allowing in my life, what I've been accepting, what I've been lowering myself for, what I have been dimming myself for. Dimming myself has been, and probably a lot of you can relate to this right now. I feel like a lot of us are on this wavelength. So comment below if you agree. But kind of dimming my light and lowering my confidence so I can appease others or I don't offend others. So something about me, and I might make a video on this. So again, if you're interested on a video about dimming your lights, my experience with it and my advice for not dimming it anymore, leave a comment down below too. Like this video, let me know that you're interested. But for the longest time, I dimmed my light because I noticed that my intelligence, and I don't care anymore if this sounds a bit cocky, conceited, I don't care anymore. Like I said, I'm not dimming myself. I'm not walking on eggshells anymore because that has gotten me nowhere. The people that choose not to like me or choose to have a distaste for me have chosen to do that regardless of the way that I have tried to be so nice and walk on eggshells, etc. So it's time to be confident in the fact that I am intelligent, for one. Being an intelligent person, for one, has always garnered a certain type of attention where people get offended because they think you're trying to make them feel stupid, or they make fun of the way that you speak because you speak a little bit more eloquently or you use an interesting vocabulary. So I found myself dimming that over time, trying to not come off as intelligent, to not be as offensive. When it comes to like my looks, now don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm like Megan Fox or anything like that, you know, but I do think that I'm beautiful. And I have had a lot of experiences in my life to back up the fact that I am a beautiful person, considered, you know, beautiful by the average person, I will say, because beauty is subjective. But I've had, you know, no problems with finding attraction, no problems with finding relationships, no problems with pursuers, anything like that, right? So that too, I have noticed over time, I recognized how that also can garner negative attention against my will. And so I would try to compensate for that by dimming my personality a little bit. I would try to make sure that I'm not doing anything that stands out a little too much, because I don't want to stand out. I don't want to rub somebody the wrong way because they think that I think I'm all that, or they, you know, I'm making them feel insecure because I'm coming off as like, because my hair is too nice, my makeup looks too good, or I'm dressed a certain way. It was a lot of trying to appease people physically too, trying to make sure that I don't. It's kind of the same concept as where women are like, we shouldn't have to dress a certain way to appease men, and men should be able to control their attention and their reactions to the way women look. It's kind of in the same vein as that. Instead of having that mentality about other people and how they perceive me physically, I would take the responsibility upon myself to try and appease them with how I dressed and how I carried myself, because I didn't want to be offensive. It actually went so far as, and I am a naturally quirky person. I'm like quirky. I have kind of these little like weird mannerisms sometimes, and I'm nerdy, geeky, whatever you want to call it. So that's a natural part of me. But I noticed that a lot of moments where I felt like I might potentially offend somebody with something I say, maybe it might come off too abrasive, maybe I might come off conceited, I would mask it with quirkiness and cutesiness to try and lower how offensive my delivery might be. Because if you're an intelligent, beautiful person, who is being a little bit too straightforward, a little bit too blunt, or doing something a certain way, I learned through experience that that might get me ostracized, or that that might get me in trouble or make somebody upset. So I took the responsibility upon myself to try and appease that when I shouldn't have. So my mindset going into 2025 is not only to not dim my light anymore, but in that same realm, to not dim my authenticity either, and to show up more unapologetically. So I have it's definitely a pro and a con, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this too, but I feel the need to show up perfectly curated in so many ways. And this can go back to like a golden child syndrome type of mentality that a lot of you can probably relate to as well. But I feel like I always have to be perfect. Everything I do has to be perfectly curated. And that is a wonderful trait to have in so many ways, because I care about the quality of everything that I do. However, it's damaging when it causes me to have analysis paralysis, and it causes me to not move forward in ways that I need to move forward, to expand, to learn, to grow, and to also be authentic, to feel fulfilled, because I'm only hurting my own fulfillment if I'm holding myself back because I can't show up raw and authentic. So that's what I'm doing with this video right now, is showing up raw and authentic, instead of showing up perfectly, beautifully curated like I always tend to. So that's kind of everything I do moving into 2025. Those have been my two like primary pillars of goals: not dimming my light and showing up authentically and unapologetically. And if you have your own like little goals or pillars for 2025, or if you're still discovering them, that's fine too. But if you have them, share them below, because I really want to know what they are. And I feel like a lot of people are on a similar wavelength, so I want to know if you are on the same wavelength as me too. Now, speaking of energy, let's talk a little bit about the new moon in Aquarius coming up. By the time I post this, it'll probably have been coming up within 1 to 2 days, I'm assuming. But yeah, we have new moon in Aquarius on January 29th, and this is coming at us among a significant time for Aquarius energy. We have Aquarius season happening currently, which is so exciting. I love my fellow Aquarians. I'm not an Aquarius, but I'm very Aquarius coded. I have a stellium in Aquarius, actually. So yeah, and I have a large Saturn influence on my chart. Saturn is conjunct my natal sun in Pisces. So Saturn and Uranus play a massive role in my chart. So I really resonate with Aquarians on a very deep level, for sure. So with that being said, we also have Pluto in Aquarius happening, which I do have a couple videos on that if you want to go back and watch those. They are very, very informative. You'll have over an hour's worth of content to watch. So get your notebook ready if you are going to go watch those. But those are videos that will help you kind of gauge the energy and how to use it to empower yourself and just go into 2025 with more knowledge, because knowledge is power, especially when it comes to astrology. Anywho, with the new moon in Aquarius happening in this very Aquarian climate, it makes it even more impactful and significant, especially because we have had kind of a rocky start to the new year. I feel on an energetic level, I think a lot of people have experienced some extreme crumbling. It has kind of felt like we've been part of some energetic earthquake in a lot of ways. And this new moon is going to finally be shedding some light, because we have a lot of beautiful energy happening in 2025. Again, I talk about that in my 2025 energy video. We have so much beautiful, exciting energy happening, especially later in the year when Jupiter moves into Cancer. That is super exciting. For now, Jupiter is in Gemini, and it's actually going to be trine the new moon in Aquarius. And this is significant because it's going to be the first moment where there's kind of an optimistic light that's being shown on everything we've been struggling with. The best way that I can really put this into words is You might feel like you've been running desperately through a tunnel that's crumbling around you, like the rocks are falling and you can't see the light. And you're running and you're running and it's starting to feel hopeless. And right when you're starting to feel tired and not know, you're like, where does this tunnel end? Does it just go on forever? Like, is this it? You see a little speck of light. You see a speck of light in the distance, but the light doesn't lead you to exactly where you thought it would. It leads you to some new unknown land. And it may not be the land where you wanted to end up, but it's the land you needed to end up, and it's actually better for you. But you have to be open to embracing the land and the light that you come out on the other side of the tunnel of. Because if you don't, you can either come out of the tunnel with two mindsets. You can come out of the tunnel with the mindset of, "Ugh, this isn't where I wanted to be." Or you can come out of the tunnel with the mindset of, this isn't where I wanted to be, but I'm excited to explore. Maybe this is what I need. What can I learn from this? How can I utilize this to my advantage? That is what this new moon in Aquarius is opening. I'm not saying that this is all going to happen on the new moon in Aquarius, that you're going to have this big, huge epiphany about this light at the end of the tunnel. But that's the type of energy it's initiating. It's moving us into, basically. And when we have a new moon, we kind of think of like manifesting from a blank slate. And the new moon will probably show us where we need to be functioning from in order to move authentically and in order to learn how to move authentically. We have a lot of Aquarius and Gemini energy happening at the moment of this new moon because of that Jupiter and Gemini. And when you have Jupiter and Gemini, and when you have Aquarius present, you are always being asked to expand, because Aquarius is like a higher knowledge air sign. They are above everything in the skies, and they are someone who wants to seek something higher, a different way of doing things. Gemini is very much knowledge hungry with an insatiable curiosity. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and a lot of spiritual learning through experience and real life and adventure. So what can you do? Where is it in your life that you need to push yourself so you can expand? You'll probably feel encouraged or empowered by learning something new, educational. Maybe there's a class you need to take in order to improve something you're working on. Maybe you need to actually begin organizing certain things and getting yourself in order so you can begin to move authentically and begin to move in a way that feels empowered. Whatever it is, this new moon is very focused on not being afraid to pivot, learn, and then expand, because you're willing to pivot and learn. If you're trying to be very inflexible and very stubborn and immovable at the time of this new moon and onwards, that's where you're going to have a difficult time. Let's talk a little bit about the Virgo Pisces nodes and the vibes that we have going on with that. I'm not going to dive too deep into this because this did happen on January 11th. So it happened a little bit ago, but it's obviously going to be affecting us for a while. We had the nodes move from the Aries Libra axis into the Pisces Virgo axis. And the nodes moving to this axis is very fitting for the 2025 energy, because 2025 energy has a huge crossroad focus between the spiritual and the practical, the esoteric and the technical, you could say. I feel like the key for humanity from this moment on is to really try and find a way to intertwine those. I mean, there's always a goal to achieve harmony with any two dichotomous energies, but especially now, especially with Pluto and Aquarius at play as well, humans are being asked to ascend in a lot of ways, to kind of advance ourselves further in a way that changes history. With the Virgo Pisces axis at play, this is an axis that is focused a lot on not just service to others, but also focused on kind of how to balance the spiritual and the practical. Pisces is all about spiritual expansion. Virgo is a lot about the physical, the physical health, the physical routine, the physical expansion in that way. So it kind of ties in this theme of the need to intertwine the two. I just kind of wanted to briefly mention that because it does tie everything up with kind of like a pretty little bow when it comes to spirituality and practicality, and the kind of crossroads between spiritual expansion, spiritual ascension, and tech expansion and tech ascension. Because I think humanity is going to be finding a lot of ways to use tech to ascend. And there might be an abandonment of spiritual practice, whereas others will probably be looking towards spirituality more than ever and trying to abandon some of the tech. When, again, there's a need to kind of marry the two and harmonize them in some way. I hope you guys enjoyed this sit down, relaxed video. You're gonna have to let me know what you think. I really appreciate you for being here. I appreciate all of you. The fact we moved into 2025 with over 40,000 subscribers is incredible to me, and I wish I could hug every single one of you truly from the bottom of my heart. It means more than I can really express. It feels silly to try and express it through a screen, but I hope that you can feel my words and feel it conveyed through my energy that I really appreciate you. I cannot wait to see us grow, to see us get closer, and just know that we're all in this together. I am always here with love. I will be showing up with love. No matter what ebbs and flows we experience, we're in it together as a community. So thank you again for being here. I'll see you in the next video. Adios.